We could say that each of us are here in this physical space and wireless space together because there is just sound check. Are you hearing me well? Oh, great. Because there has been living inside of us this perhaps not fully verbalized and not fully realized stream of understanding and of love that knows not so much verbally, not so much conceptually, but that underneath that knows that we are on a journey to realize, to fully embody our beauty. And it's funny to use that word, but the Buddha uses that word when he talks about the qualities of mind and heart that are an expression of enlightenment. He talks about them as beautiful qualities. And each of us have this longing that brought us through the many steps that we have explored, not steps, through the many experiences and choices that we've explored that have brought us to this moment. In traditional teachings, it's named as taking the refuges, which we did last night. But we could say it in this way too, that we are being moved by this inner energy to embody this deep longing for fully realized beauty in our queerness, in the other parts of ourselves that make up ourselves, our historical religions, the land we were brought on, the language that might be our first language, the cultures we were born into, that those combinations that are part of an expression of this beauty, but have yet to be fully realized, or we could say awakened, have yet to be fully embodied. So what does that mean and how do we get there? And one of the reasons that I love the Dharma is that it gives us such a clear path, not to get there, but to open to and embody, to grow into this fully awakening of our beauty, of our queerness, of all the parts of ourselves that are courageous already and generous and kind and caring and patient and discerning in our cultural expressions, in our body expressions, chosen expressions, not just like a cutout of, this is what awakening looks like. Awakening looks like ourselves in our uniqueness. We become not less unique, but more unique because it's a process of embodying ourselves, not going somewhere else, not transcending. And that embodiment is the embodiment of the beautiful qualities, and the leader of the beautiful qualities is mindfulness. Mindfulness and faith together bring all the other beautiful qualities into being. Without those, they can't happen unless we are present. Then none of the other energies can come into being, and that's why. That's one of the reasons why mindfulness is considered the leader in the 7 factors of enlightenment, in the Satipatthana Sutta, and many, many, many of the teachings. So what is it? It is not forgetting. And that is a really big description. Not forgetting this path that I'm naming for all of us, that you also have named, that we are naming, not forgetting our liberation, not forgetting that really that is why we are alive, is to reclaim ourselves and our hearts, not forgetting that. And the reality in saying that is that we forget all the time, like sometimes moment after moment after moment. And that is totally understandable because this culture and our neural network together are built around forgetting. And so it is very much often about going upstream, and not just going upstream, but like finding your place amidst the boulders and going upstream, right? Because as we come to be present, we connect with all that cultural conditioning. And when I'm talking about cultural conditioning, or the conditioning of colonialism, capitalism, and imperialism, I'm talking about the fundamental disrespect that those structures are built on, that we have taken in. Mindfulness is the opposite of that. It is based and is the expression of respect and caring. I don't know if any of you have ever done process work, but I did it. I participated in a 6-week training at the Process Work Institute in Portland. And when there was a conflict, and the person in the conflict had a hard time articulating what was going on, some of us would come over and stand by them as allies. And stand by is one of the definitions of mindfulness, that we stand by ourselves. So in that conflict, someone would stand by to give strength to that person and even articulate what is going on. So mindfulness enables us to stand by and create the conditions for that articulation. This way we are willing to be an ally to ourselves, and not just an active ally, but to bear witness to our lives and ourselves and what's going on. So that's another traditional definition of mindfulness, to be an ally, to bear witness, to stand by, to know what is happening as it is happening without reaction and judgment, which is what a good ally does, right? So we, as the energy of mindfulness, stand by ourselves in this process of embodiment, bearing witness and caring for ourselves as we struggle sometimes to open, to name for ourselves what's going on, that capacity to discern reality as it is. Sometimes mindfulness is spoken about in very traditional language and talks about knowing the object as it is. And that's sometimes helpful. You know, if we were to say, well, what is happening right now with our feet? Sometimes we can disentangle from, oh, my foot is this way or that way, or my knees are, or my stomach is, or my thoughts are this way or that way. And just to know clearly and directly the qualities and characteristics of what's going on. And so sometimes it's said, know the object just as it is. So sometimes that's helpful. No pressure, just as pressure. Temperature, just as temperature. A thought is just a thought. Confusion is just confusion, without the embellishment, without the wanting or not wanting. This is the quality of this life in the moment. And I bear witness to that as it is. And then sometimes mindfulness is spoken of, or for me at least, it's the embodiment of relationship. So those of you who have been sitting with me, practicing with me on this path for a long time, know that I retold the story of Kalu Rinpoche a lot. And as this is my last retreat, I wanted to circle back to that story. And Kalu Rinpoche was considered a realized master. We can say somewhat realized master in some sense, somewhat, and in other senses, fully realized. A student had met him in Boston. He was teaching there and took him to the aquarium, thinking that he would really enjoy it in Boston. I don't know for those of you on the East Coast, but it is an amazing aquarium. And every glass tank they passed through, Rinpoche would stop and knock on the glass, even though there was a big sign, please don't knock on the glass. And so the student turned to him after a number of times and said, Rinpoche, what are you doing? And he said, I'm calling on the fish's attention, or whatever that was in the tank, so I might bless them. And I love that. I love that awareness is calling whatever the experience is to attention, so that we, in this attentional mindfulness, might bless whatever it is. That, for those of us who are aversive particularly, or in pain or struggling, that is our work. To turn towards, call attention, to be present to bless the experience as it's happening. And we know that isn't easy sometimes, and that it's a developmental process. And so we begin where we can. Sometimes we begin by just standing in front of that tank, and we know what's going on, but we can just be so simple by knowing, here are my feet, or my elbows, or the touch of cloth on my lower back. Or I can't even touch right now and bless any aspect of my body, but I can bless the sounds of the kids who are running down the corridor, or the birds, or even the traffic and everyone in the car driving for a reason. I can do that. And that is the path that each of us is invited to, that path of being artistic and creative in how we actually embody and manifest the path. because it isn't a straight journey. And we know that. Sometimes it's open and beautiful and there's no effort needed even. And then sometimes it takes such perseverance not to split the scene and to bear witness and be our own ally. And even when we do say to ourselves, I can't right now, I have to take a break, then we connect with ourselves in that way. Hey, honey, I have to take a break now. I can't do it, but I want you to know I'm taking a break to strengthen, to come back. Like, I wish my parents had been able to say just that to me. And I wish all the adults who split the scene without communicating had said that. But we get to say that to ourselves. I can't now. I need a long break, maybe, or however long I need, but it's dedicated to building the strength to come back. This is one of my favorite descriptions of mindfulness from the poet Joy Harjo and her book Poet Warrior Memoir. And it's called Washing My Mother's Body. It's a beautiful expression of this presence we're talking about. I step in to make my ritual. Oh, maybe I should do it this way because it's right where the mic is. Hang on. I step in to make my ritual, to do what should have been done, what needs to be fixed so that my spirit can move on, so that the children and grandchildren are not caught in a knot of regret they do not understand. I find the white enamel pan she used to bathe us when we were babies. I turn the faucet on and hold my hand under the water until it is warm, the temperature one uses to wash an infant. I find a clean washcloth in a stack of washcloths. She had nothing in her childhood. She made sure she had plenty of everything when she grew up and made her own life. Her closets are full of pretty dresses. I pick up the bar of soap from her sink, the same soap she used yesterday morning to wash her face. When she looked in the mirror, she did not know it would be her last sunrise. I move over pill bottles, a clock radio on the table by the bed, a pen, and set down the pan. I straighten the blankets over her to keep her warm for dignity, and I start with her face. As I wash my mother's face, I tell her how beautiful she is, how brave, how her beauty and bravery live on in her grandchildren. Her face is relaxed, peaceful. Her earth memory body has not left yet. I lift up each arm to wash. Her hands still wear her favorite rings. She loved her body and decorated it with shiny jewelry, with creams and makeup. I wash her neck and lift the blankets to move down to her heart. I thank her body for carrying us through the tough story, through the violence of my father and her second husband. The story is all there in her body as I wash her to prepare her to be let down into earth and return all stories to the earth. I uncover my mother's legs. I remember the varicose veins that swelled like rivers when she would get off a long shift of standing and cooking. They carried more than a woman should carry. I wash her feet, caress them. You will have some rest now, I tell my mother, even as I know my mother was never one for resting. I cover her. I make the final ring of the washcloth and drape it over the pan. I brush her hair and kiss her forehead. I ask the keepers of the journey to make sure her travel is safe and sure. I ask the angels whom she loved and with whom she spoke frequently to take her home. But wait, not before I find her favorite perfume. Then I sing her favorite song softly. I don't know the name of the song, just a few phrases, one of those old homemade heartbreak songs, where there's a moment of happiness wound through. And then I let her go. And we are invited to wash our own bodies in this way with our presence, to care. In each moment, as though it was our last moment, to wash and care for our being, our bodies, our hearts, with that kind of full presence, 100%. And when we forget, no problem, because we know we're students on the path and we begin again and again and again. And we can bring this presence to all our actions through the day, in how we lie down, to the body sitting, walking and standing, to our breathing, to our thoughts, not as enemies, but as part of being alive and a human being, and that calling for blessing and healing. And that's the invitation of our retreat that we are entering together. That kind of mindfulness and heartfeltness. In the beginning, for the first 2 days, it's really helpful to stay with our bodies and to stay connected to our bodies as an easy gateway, if it is easy for you. To stay connected to the sensations of aliveness and to the breath and the aliveness of the breath. As a very well-known Burmese master said, unless you're contemplating the Dharma, there is no thought worth thinking when you're on retreat, whether you're on retreat as an online participant or in person. So that's the invitation that allows us to be as fully present as Joy Harjo was with her mother washing her mother's body, letting go of our thinking process over and over again, unless we're contemplating the Dharma. So let's go ahead then and find whatever position is comfortable for you, and we'll end with a guided meditation. You have heard many of my words. Take a moment and see how you would like to frame or name your intention for the sitting and for today. Inviting relaxation into the support that's been given. Each one of us supported by the earth. We share that through the floor or chairs or beds or cushions. Allowing that gift of holding to happen. Allowing each person's presence to be part of the holding. Whatever I feel, however I am, I'm held in others' presence, life. Maybe in this way I don't have to do something through willpower, that can relax and allow the communication of my body or my experience, if sound is where you want to stay. Maybe you can feel your heartbeat. Or the warmth of the organs. Or the touch of cloth against the skin around your shoulders and chest. For a moment, not forgetting our feet. They might be calling to a little cold. Mine are. And then see What is calling you, if it's the movement of the breath or the different sensations in the body, or the silence, the sound. Greeting the experience not so much conceptually, but with that open-heartedness presence. Not a project, but touching life. Ah, we could say the life living through us. Giving time for the mind to settle into the connectedness. Whatever is happening is okay. It's calling for our presence and allyship. See if you can be present, fully present. And if not, notice that. That's okay too. Remember, it's not my awareness, it is life's awareness living through us. If forgetting has taken place, no problem. Appreciating the return. In the background is your vision and intention you named for yourself. Supporting and sustaining the care of presence. We're going to come to closure in a minute. Appreciating the turning towards ourselves and our intentions as a community, as a larger community. And for all beings. Thank you. I don't have a bell, but ting-a-ling. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see day to day how it goes. And if it's a good day and night, then I hope to see you tomorrow morning, because mornings are always way easier for me than evenings. So love, lots of love. Bye. Thank you.